New York Governor Hochul's plans for quarantine camps may be in the works again. An appeals court just dismissed a lawsuit from lawmakers and citizen groups. Their attorney, Bobby Ann Cox, disagrees with the decision. We spoke earlier today. Bobby Ann Cox, welcome to our show. Thank you so much for joining us. To begin with, can you please explain the judge's ruling in this case and your initial response here?
Yes, well, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. So what happened was the Fourth Department Appellate Division here in New York State ruled that my plaintiffs, Senator George Borrello, Assemblyman Chris Tague, Congressman Mike Lawler, and a citizens group called Uniting New York State didn't have standing to bring the lawsuit last year, which, if you recall, we actually won the lawsuit last year at the trial court level when the court ruled in our favor and said that this regulation that Governor Hochul and her Department of Health made it was an unconstitutional regulation on multiple levels. So now this appellate court, which, of course, the governor and the attorney general appealed to this court, they tried to overturn our decision. And yeah, the court came down and said, well, you know what? We're not even going to talk about the merits here, whether or not this regulation was unconstitutional or not. We're just going to say, hey, you know what? We don't think you had the right to bring the lawsuit in the first place last year.
And what's your assessment of that decision? What's your assessment of the reasoning here?
Yeah, it's pretty surprising, I have to say. The trial court judge last year didn't even discuss standing. It was an argument that was brought up by the Attorney General last year at the trial court, but it's so obvious that we have standing that the trial court judge didn't even discuss it in his decision. So it was very surprising, and I don't agree. My plaintiffs and I do not agree with this ruling. We do not believe that sitting New York State legislators and the people of New York State, in a citizens group, don't have standing. It doesn't make sense. So
Right.
We definitely disagree with this ruling.
And just for our viewers, what would be the potential impact of this ruling for New York, for the rest of America? As you've said, it could have an impact on the whole nation.
Yes. So what has happened with this ruling is that they have said, in essence, the lawsuit last year, the ruling there isn't valid anymore. So what that means is that the Department of Health and Governor Hochul are open to reissuing that regulation if they want to, which means they can reinstitute their isolation and quarantine procedures regulation, which the judge had struck down last year. So if they can reissue that now, that means that it's going to be a valid regulation and it's going to be enforceable by the Department of Health, the governor, the attorney general. So it's really a dangerous situation. The other thing, and in addition to that regulation now being open to being reissued, the other problem is that this is really bad case law. An appellate court is saying that these legislators don't have the right to bring a lawsuit against the executive branch of government when they feel that the executive branch of government has usurped their power, has taken their power to make law. It's very clear. 3 branches of government, each branch has its own job, its own authority. And here, it was clear that the executive branch overstepped and reached into the legislative branch's powers.
Yeah.
You have to be able to challenge that in court.
Absolutely. That is concerning. And in a tangible way, how might this affect people's lives? Say, for a potential future pandemic or such?
Well, yeah, like I said, so the regulation can be reinstituted now because of this court decision. So that means the regulation, for any of your viewers who are not familiar with the regulation, it allows the Department of Health to pick and choose which New Yorkers they can lock up or lock down without any proof that you're sick, without any proof you've been exposed to a communicable disease. There's no time limit, so they could lock you up or lock you down for days or weeks or months. There's no location restrictions. They can put you in any facility they want. They can either lock you down in your house or they can remove you from your house with the force of police and put you into a facility, detention center, whatever you want to call it, that they choose. You would have no say. And then once you're locked up or you're locked down, There's no procedure in this regulation that says how you get out of quarantine once you're in there. So, just to give you an example, we were at the trial court last year arguing in front of the judge, and the judge asked the attorney general, if you take a family and you put them into a facility somewhere, how do they get out? And, the attorney general said, well, they could hire a lawyer and they could sue us. It's unbelievable. It's absolutely unbelievable.
Absolutely. Bobby Ann Cox, you've done an amazing job representing these plaintiffs and driving forward this case. For any viewers out there who are interested and concerned and interested and want to help, you can donate. That's always useful. CoxLawyers.com, and you can also read more about this on Bobby Ann Cox's Substacks. So thank you so much.
Yes, thank you for having me on.